Folks, this is the front page of the Indianapolis Star website. Indiana lawmakers reject Trump's mid-decade redistricting push. The Indiana Senate voted overwhelmingly against Trump's mid-decade redistricting push. Folks, this is a huge, huge decision. Donald Trump, first of all, here we go. Carol, hit Congressman Carson right now. Y'all, we are live. Congressman André Carson, he is African-American. They're from Indianapolis. His seat was one of the two they were trying to get rid of, so he just hit me back. Hold on, y'all. Carol is calling you now. I told y'all, see, we don't play, so we go ahead and do this here. So I'm texting him right back. Okay, all right. So text him, Carol. If he ain't answering the phone, he might be in a committee hearing. So text him, and y'all work it out. So get him on the phone audio, get him on the phone video, FaceTime, Zoom, vMix, it don't matter. Let's make it happen. So y'all, here's the whole deal. Donald Trump has been pushing, and not just pushing, he has been demanding, ordering all of these Republicans to redistrict. We saw what happened in Texas. They bended the knee, did what he wanted. Republicans did the exact same thing in Missouri, getting rid of the seat of Congressman Emanuel Cleaver. They've been doing the same thing in other states. Well, they have been putting lots of pressure. You might remember when Donald Trump called Minnesota Governor Tim Walz retarded, it was an Indiana state senator who has a special needs child who said, no, I'm not doing this. I'm not voting for those maps. These senators in Indiana have been getting death threats. Donald Trump even called them to the White House, putting pressure on them, even said that if they oppose him, he was going to target them in a campaign. Well, they said, hey, man, do what you got to do. We don't believe in this. We're not going to do this. And so that's exactly what they did. That was maximum pressure being put upon them. I mean, every facet of the party, the Heritage Foundation, Turning Point USA, Donald Trump Jr., all of these people said if they were going to be targeting these people, they were not going to get reelected. They did not care. But Republicans in Indiana have stood up to the fascist Donald Trump. This is the story here. In a monumental rebuke of Donald Trump's wishes, Indiana's supermajority Republican state legislature became the first to formally reject his push for mid-decade redistricting. Folks, the vote wasn't even close. Look at this. It was 31-19 against. The no votes got more than a constitutional majority needed to kill the bill once and for all. Previously undecided State Senator Greg Good, who had been subjected to threats, to reveal his no vote in a speech before the vote, saying he was confident, my vote reflects the will of my constituents. His spokesman from a bomb threat was called into the office as he was speaking against the bill. This is what he said. Indiana did this just 4 years ago. The map produced was celebrated by legislative leadership, and Indiana served as a national model for getting things right through Hoosier common sense. That's how you actually do it. Let's go to my panel right now. Dr. Greg Carr, Chairman of the Department of Afro-American Studies, Howard University, joins us right here. Glad to have him on the show. Cameron Trimble also joins us on the show. Formerly worked in the Biden White House. He also is, of course, talk to young folks every single day with his podcast, Hip Politics Media, and we'll be joined in a bit by Thelma Lawyer Bay Anderson, author of Shut Up and Prosecute out of Dallas. Greg, this is really huge here. These Republicans, Trump put all kind of pressure, and they were like, damn that. They got a supermajority. They could have passed this. It already passed the Indiana House, but these senators stood up and they said, no, we did it 4 years ago. Damn it, we're not going to do it right now. And what it would have done was wiped out. Right now, it's 7 Republicans in Indiana, 2 Democrats. It would have wiped out both Democratic seats. They said, not going to happen. And now what you going to do, Donald Trump?
He's probably going to put pressure on the white nationalist governor who says that it's not over. Let's be very clear. We give credit for people being human beings. The bar is so low, there is no bar. In fact, they didn't do this because it's in their political interest not to do it. Sure, the reporters are saying it would have been a 9-0 Republican sweep if they had gerrymandered, but that is not at all guaranteed. We see in Texas the 5 seats they think they are stealing. He says one thing to redistrict, it's another quite thing to redistrict and stuff people in districts and then start deporting their families and arresting them and jumping out and snatching them up because you think that they don't belong in the country. Texas, those 5 seats are not guaranteed. We saw what happened in Miami. A white woman, La Gringa, as they call her in Miami, beat the tar out of the MAGA candidate in a heavily majority Hispanic area. Now, that isn't Indiana's makeup, but let's be clear. There are limits to gerrymandering. And I think that these folks in Indiana realize if we do this, number one, there's no guarantee that we will be able to go 9-0. And number two, with all this violence being put against us, it's not clear at all that we won't, that we won't be attacked anyway. So I think that's probably what we're facing. And I don't know that it's over. Heritage Action, dark money arm of the Heritage Foundation, saying that Trump is claiming he's going to strip all federal funding from the state. I think this is important, Roland.
Yeah.
I think it's important because they're testing the limits of the law at this point. And at this point, it probably should get all of us off the bench and into the game.
Yeah. And listen, look, I say this all the time. If you do good, I'm going to talk about you. If you do bad, I'm going to talk about you. At the end of the day, I'm going to talk about you. And Cameron, the reality is these Indiana Republicans in the Senate, they did good. They stood up to the fascist bully. They stood up with all the threats. They were getting death threats, bomb threats, all sorts of different things. And here's the other thing. The voters in Indiana, they also were protesting saying, hey, we don't need this. So these senators were responding to the voters as well because they say, hey, Trump, you could call us out, but these are the folks who got to vote for us. This is from the Indy Star. This is some of what one of the state senators had to say.
Friends, whether we realize it or not, whether we accept it or not, the forces that define this vitriolic political affairs in places outside of Indiana have been gradually and now very blatantly infiltrated the political affairs in Indiana. Misinformation, cruel social media posts, over-the-top pressure from within this state house and outside, threats of primaries, threats of violence, acts of violence. Friends, we're better than this, are we not? We can't allow ourselves to keep getting caught up in all of this noise. We have to redirect our focus on what really matters, I believe, to Hoosiers. The cost of living, the cost of doing business, the cost of health care, electricity, natural gas, additional tax relief, education, workforce development, job creation. These are the things I believe that we as state senators can truly influence. These are the issues that are on the minds of my constituents, are holding me accountable to take on. I'm going to conclude here in a way that I often conclude other speeches when I'm out and about in the district with the following phrase: the free world is counting on the United States of America. Friends, the United States of America is counting on the state of Indiana.
Aaron, here's the thing here. We are in the situation we're in because gutless, spineless Republicans in Washington, D.C. refuse to stand up to the twice impeached, criminally convicted con man in chief. He has run roughshod over them. He has just taken the authority of the legislative branch and assumed it for himself. And what you see right here is a state chamber saying enough is enough. You don't get to tell us what to do in our state. We are elected in our state. It's unfortunate that the cowards, the Republican cowards in Texas, didn't do this. That the Republican cowards in Missouri did not do this. That you right now have cowards, Republicans in Florida, who are looking to do this. Republican cowards in Ohio who are looking to do this. Somebody has to stand up to this thug and say, hey, we can't say we like small government or local control and then you want to tell us what to do because you want to see changes.
My folks live in Indianapolis and have been Hoosiers for almost a decade, right in André Carson's district, and I've worked a lot in that state. Hoosiers are a proud people. Hoosiers are, I would say, a fiercely independent folks, and what is happening, and I think will hopefully reverberates around the country, is that these state senators, these state legislatures that are getting this pressure from Donald Trump realize, hey, I still have to get elected. And if Donald Trump, just because he pressures and tries to put a national campaign for us to redistrict and move.
Cameron, hold on one second. Cameron, I got to come back to you right now. We're joined by Congressman André Carson of Indianapolis. Congressman Carson, glad to have you here. I was just saying, Republicans in your state had some guts, and they stood up to the thug-in-chief, Donald Trump.
Absolutely, and it's always good to hear from Brother Cameron Tribble, who's a leader in our community. Listen, I think you called it. We're thankful to God. I think this shows that the power of the people and the power of prayer really works. Indiana's different. We have a very independent streak, a libertarian streak. We're similar to Texans in many ways in terms of our sense of independence. And I think that's what we saw right there. You had outside actors, Roland, from D.C. putting millions of dollars to try to influence our state. It didn't work. The voice of the people is far more powerful than any person.
Yeah, but the reality is Texas Republicans capitulated and they bent the knee, and so they were not independent. They were shameful and despicable in not denying Donald Trump, changing the map, and stealing those 5 seats. But what I also loved here, people were protesting in the state. They went to the state capitol. They put the pressure, and these lawmakers were saying, hey, Donald Trump, you can threaten us, but these are the folks who can vote us in or out.
Absolutely, and Hoosiers don't play when it comes to bullying. You had these folks from Turning Point USA. You had the Trump administration threatening to primary people who were against this measure, and they were threatening to dump $10 million into local state Senate races and state house races. It's unacceptable, but most Hoosiers are against it. So I think this was a moment where elected officials listened to the people instead of D.C. insider lobbyists.
And in fact, right here, we're showing this was the map right here. They wanted an all red map. Those 2 blue areas come on, guys, let's go. Those 2 blue areas, those are Democratic seats. Yours is one of those. They wanted 9-0, and these Republicans said, no, we're 7-2. We got a majority. My goodness, what are you trying to do?
That's right. They were proud of the maps they put together 4 years. What changed? And as you know, Roland, because you do numbers every day, once you start getting too cute, it could turn against you.
Well, again, I know you got some other interviews to do, but this is also what happens when people push back. And I'm always trying to explain to our people, Congressman, even though they might be Republican and largely white, there are a lot of us who are living in districts represented by Republicans. They need to hear us. We need to be blowing their phones up, emails, going to those town halls, putting pressure, because even if we didn't vote for them, we are still constituents.
Amen. That part.
All right, Congressman André Carson, the governor says it's not over. We'll see what happens next. Thanks a lot.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Let's go back to our panel. Cameron, the point that you were making there before we go to Congressman Carson. And again, people power, people pressure is critically important, and that's what happened here. And these Republicans in Indiana, they heard from their constituents.
They did. Making sure you can hear me now.
We got you.
Okay, thank you. As I was saying before, like being in the Hoosier state and having worked there for the last decade and family there, they are fiercely independent. And I think what some of the D.C. Republican Party and some of what Trump and his White House and his administration is miscalculating here is that when state Republicans and state legislators and state senators are receiving death threats, when people are showing up at their houses, showing up at their offices, consistently protesting, they're realizing, hey, all politics are local. I've got to get elected next year. And not only is my seat in jeopardy, my safety's in jeopardy. And all for what? For them to maybe redistrict and maybe get back some federal seats when they still need to get elected. And I think Hoosiers and folks in Indiana are fiercely independent. So I'm hoping this is something that reverberates around the country and folks realize like they're doing political calculations at the end of the day. Donald Trump and all the money that they can send into the state and potentially, they said, threats of primarying some of these other Republican state senators doesn't really register when in real time I'm having people threaten my life, threaten my family's life. I'm having real people and their constituents throughout the state come and protest them. And they've got to win an election next year. They're on the ballot, even when Donald Trump isn't on the ballot. So I think this is something that is a calculation that hopefully if Indiana does stand up, and I'm curious to see if they're going to stand tall throughout this entire process or if some backroom deals are going to be cut, because we've known some of Trump's cabinets, Trump's sons have come to the state and they've been lobbying hard, the Republican state legislature there in Indiana. So we're going to see what type of pressure they're able to stand up against.
Thelma Lawyer Bay Anderson, she joins us right now. Listen, I get it. If this was a 2-vote, 3-vote, it was 31-19. Okay, that's a wide margin. It's going to have to be a whole lot of arm twisting to go from 31-19 to 21-19, or whatever number to win. And the thing here that I need people to understand, I had some fool in the chat say, "Can we stop talking about Trump at 6:30?" You got to be stuck on stupid to not realize what's going on here. What we are seeing right now is with Donald Trump, with MAGA, with these Republicans in the House, Republicans in the Senate, these Republican state legislatures, with the Supreme Court and the federal courts, we are in the middle of a war. We are in the middle of a war for the future of America. We're in a war for the future of Black America. We are seeing these people attacking on all fronts. 80% of Project 2025 has already been put in place. The Heritage Foundation is now working on a Project 2026. I keep telling folk, you can't just be sitting here commenting on bullshit in the YouTube chat without realizing that we are in a war, and this requires people to be on the battlefield, and we've got to be educating people on what's going on. So I'm not really interested. Listen, I'll watch Texas A&M, my Aggies play Miami on December 20th, but I'm not fixated on college football. I don't care what the damn University of Michigan football coach did, who he's screwing. I don't care about no gossip show. What we're talking about right here are life and death matters that impact our children's children, and Black folks had better wake the hell up. Go ahead. I hear you.
I agree. And I think people forget. I want to take it back to 2016 when Trump started to put this plan where we're seeing right now into place. They started over 10 years ago with this plan and this scheme. And guess what? They laid under. They went underground soon as he wasn't reelected, and they regrouped. They regrouped because they knew they had already laid the foundation. And that foundation was that Supreme Court. That foundation was making sure they had the House and the Senate. So when Biden comes in, he couldn't put any cracks in that foundation. Now that we're seeing that there were no cracks that could be laid in that foundation, and it was so solid because of how calculated they were with using their resources, their money, and they kept it quiet. They used Trump and his rhetoric to distract us so that we can be like, oh, we tired of hearing Trump. Yeah, we are tired of hearing him, but his people was looking at every pattern, looking at data, looking at how we move in order to execute the plan that they have in place right now. And it's continuing to spin. That wheel is continuing to spin. And they got so much gas that it's hard for people to catch up. And if we don't start reporting on things that are going on that is within our political system, and we don't start educating people even more and drilling it in their head, we're going to continue to see the decline of what this country was built on. You know,
again, Greg, I just keep telling people folk are playing around here. They really are not fully comprehending. Every day, when I see these white nationalists, Elon Musk and others whining on Twitter about fertility rates, but really white fertility rates. When you got Dave Rubin and then you got J.D. Vance, the vice president, whining about, well, of course we want people next door to us who can speak English. Those things. When you got Elon Musk lying, saying, all these Somalis elected Ilhan Omar when 60% of her district is white and only 3% is Somali. These folks, what they are saying, and these Latinos in America are waking their asses up, hopefully. These folks are saying, we don't want none of y'all. We don't want none of y'all. Latinos, take your ass back. They saying Venezuelans, Cubans, Colombians, take your asses back. Trump stood at a rally and said, can we get a few from Denmark, from Sweden? They are openly saying we only want blonde-haired, blue-eyed white folks in this country. And guess what, Greg? All of these African immigrants, they don't want y'all ass either.
No, now's the time to be clear. Your home state, 60% non-white. Here's a bulletin to white people. You should get with our common humanity or get rolled over. It's over. Not just the last 60 years of you trying to repeal the civil rights era. Not just the past 160 years as you trying to roll back what's left of Reconstruction with the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment. This is the end of your settler colonial project, friends. It was born in sin and it's going to die in something that smells a lot different than that bullshit y'all been putting down for now 250 years. Indiana, that bozo won the state of Indiana in 2024, 58%. They wanted 100% representation. And to do it, they tried to carve up Brother Carson's district, as you say, into split it 4 ways. Tried to do to Indianapolis what they did to my hometown of Nashville. But people are waking up, as you said. If they had gone through with this, Congressman Carson's district would have gone from favoring Kamala Harris by 40 points in the election last year to going to Trump by 20 points, because they would have strung him out all the way through the state of Indiana. Similarly, we would have seen something similar in the northwest corner of Indiana around Gary and that place. They would have stripped that congressman out and had him split about 8 ways going toward the borders of other states. But here's the issue. And this picks up exactly to what Thelma was saying. The maps are being drawn here in D.C. The National Republican Redistricting Trust, according to Ari Berman, in today's Mother Jones, he just broke the news, and I know you've had Ari on many times. Knowing your Rolodex, you might have him on before the end of the show again. But, Berman is on this tight. And he's like, they really are trying to destroy what's left of American democracy and trying to rig this election. But I think what it comes down to, though, is this. If the state of Indiana was only 58% to Trump, and you try to go 100%, these legislators can count. And in counting, they realize that there are going to be limits to this. And in addition, what do you always say, Roland? If we vote our numbers, we win.
Yep.
If we turn out and everybody else turns out and a handful of white people turn out, a lot of those Indiana legislators might not be in their seats.
Hello, I'm Isaac Hayes III, founder and CEO of Fanbase, and I'm here with a very important message. We are at a turning point in the Black community where we must have equity in the apps we use that scale to billions of dollars. But this time, we own the infrastructure, we own the culture, and we shape the future. And Fanbase is the future. Fanbase combines the free functionality of Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube into an all-in-one platform built for the evolution of social media and monetization. With over 1.4 million users, that's real proof that we are shifting the conversation of tech ownership and equity for creators. So right now, I want you to go to startengine.com/fanbase and invest today. The minimum to invest is $399. That gets you 60 shares of stock in Fanbase at $665 a share. This marks a turning point in Black ownership of social media. If we don't take this opportunity to own social media right now, we will always be customers to our own creations. And that can't go on. So once again, Go to startengine.com/fanbase and invest today. We must own the platforms where our voices live, our stories matter, and where our culture drives the world. Thank you.